Because I'm recording so much of Jason's work of late, and I also recorded something that B at Quantum Tumblr put out. And in times past, I have also recorded the works of others that I'm nudged to record and share. I want to share with you my thoughts about all of these messengers and their messages, um, my own experience with my own guidance, and just kind of give you my take on all of that. Mostly because I don't want anyone to get the idea. Is here's the way I look at things. Nothing is as it seems, or at least that's where I am in this moment. Each one of us that are waking up to the truth of who we are in the midst of deprogramming ourselves from the old construct, getting used to hearing. I'm just going to keep it right here. Myself, my larger portion of me, and also discernment between the difference between my ego personality, which has been programmed, and the larger portion of me, right? And there's also all kinds of thoughts and feelings out there in regards to channelers, who they're channeling, what they're channeling, where it comes from, why some of it doesn't sound or feel proper to some, that sort of thing, right? So for me, I wanted to be very clear. And I will probably put this as a channel trailer on Sassy C or Sheila to replace my old one. I'm going to tell a story. I only really started waking up in to the spiritual side of things in 2016, maybe. I started waking up to the geopolitical corruption on the planet in 2009. And I was still very, very ill. My mind wasn't very clear. I was on a lot of drugs. I was very sick. I, you know, went down rabbit holes that, threw me even deeper into depressions and things like that. But in 2013, as my mind started becoming, as I started taking my health back into my own hands, and have steadily progressed, getting my mind clear, getting myself off of all of the pharmaceuticals that they had me on. Um, round about 2016, 2017, I started questioning the truth of who I am. What is the whole point of this existence? Who are we really, right? Because you have all these channelers out here that talk about, the truth of who we are. We're creator beings. I was raised in the church and that never felt right. So I started looking into it. So it's as though I began a quest to get to the truth of just who and what am I, right? And I became friends with Lisa Flamino Rush. She and her family moved in with me eventually, and we are housemates now. And she had an entire team of guidance for herself. And I wanted that. I wanted to be guided in the right way to go about things. And I thought I was disconnected from my guidance. And those of you that followed me in Conscious Conversation Central from beginning in 2017, you actually saw on camera a lot of expansion happening for me, right? Through conversations with Lisa, BZ, and others, where I really began to get in touch with the larger portion of me, and some veils within my vessel began to drop. The scales sort of falling away from my eyes, and I could see some things about myself that I never allowed myself to consider before. And this is what it looks like for awakening, for folks who are awakening, who are willing to, because it's, for me, it was very involved, right? Learning how to see the programs and the traumas that one has, that the programs play off of or play into. I learned that we're taught from infancy, really, how not to trust our inner voice, that which actually is always there. I think Jason would probably refer to that as the flame, right? I always thought of it in terms, I never knew if it was higher self, soul, spirit. There's all manner of names for it. I call it my more expansive being, that larger portion of me, that when I ask myself questions internally, if I pay close enough attention, the entire field will speak to me. And apparently my phone agrees with that. So it's been a journey getting to where I am now, and to seeing that there I actually was and always have been what I will call now uber connected, where it was very seamless. I didn't have guides and folks that I evoke or talk to. It was just always there, but I didn't recognize it. I was actually taught to question it and not believe my own discernment. I no longer do that. When I'm nudged and I get guidance, I listen. Now, sometimes my ego personality will misinterpret my guidance. And here's the story that I wish to tell. In 2017, when I first started the channel, Conscious Conversation Central, my inner guidance gave me information that said that my name, Corona, would be going viral. I thought that it was about my YouTube channel, because I was talking about truth. I was talking about getting to the truth of who you are. And I could see and feel that this was the way of the future. And so I thought the little programmed, conditioned ego, Sheila personality, that I, Sheila Corona, was going to go viral. So much so that as I was divorcing my husband and my grown son, I wasn't divorcing him. I had a conversation with them. I'm starting this YouTube channel. Do you want me to change my name? Because I had decided I was just going to be who I am and use my real name on the internet and just be who I am. If I was to go viral, they thought I was crazy with what I was getting and feeling and the way I was moving. So I offered to change my name. They both laughed and said, no, there's no need to change your name. Because, of course, they poo-pooed the whole idea of me going viral. Fast forward to 2020. No one can argue that the word, the name, Corona, went viral in 2020. And I now see this for myself as having to happen in exactly the way that it did. My guidance was not wrong. Corona did go viral, absolutely viral across the entire world. I didn't, but my name did. You see what I'm saying here? So I feel like this had to happen for me in particular to show me that this is how it is for everyone. There is always the possibility that guidance that's received comes through the perception filters, the experiential filters of the being receiving the guidance. And as that guidance comes in and it goes through these sometimes distorted filters, because let's face it, every single being on this planet has been subjected to programming and conditioning from the time they are little. Even if they came in fully knowing who they are, they're still susceptible, I think. I see it as that way. And therefore, you know, some less so than others, some more so than others, but at least the possibility of it is there. Your individual mileage will always vary. This is why I only speak about myself. But my experience so far has been to realize that A, nothing is as it seems. Because of that, because of the fact that we've all been programmed to some sort of degree, that nothing here has been 100% the truth, that science is skewed to those who would skew it, and that we, even with our own guidance, because it is coming through our distorted perception filters, can misinterpret our own guidance. And so for me, I've learned to keep things very open, to see, sense, and feel everything, to say, okay, well, this is the way I feel about it. I'm going to move in this direction for the moment. That's why discernment is so absolutely so key. And to also be okay with learning that I've misjudged something. Like, instead of getting mad at myself because, oh, well, I was obviously wrong about Corona going viral. No, I wasn't. I misinterpreted the guidance. Because let's face it, the guidance was correct. Corona absolutely did go viral. It just wasn't me. And so when it comes to this went over, and this is something I also learned in probably 2016, 2017, 2018, I began to see that, and that's why I call myself a puzzle piece collector. Lots of people have different pieces to the puzzle. Nobody is getting the full story. Again, partly because of the distorted perspective and perception filters. But I can see where folks put out information thinking that they are the originator of this information. This includes everybody. I've lost more awakened friends with this kind of information that I feel about it. If we are all indeed waking up, then it would make sense that everybody is getting a piece of the puzzle. It's not going to land in one person's lap. The entire truth is not going to land in one person's lap. And I think that is by design. And I have said that for a very long time. The reason for that is because if that were the case, that one person could be taken out and then there'd be no more truth. This is why discernment is key. This is why one has to keep an open mind and feel into the frequency of what is being said. Even realizing that within that frequency that feels correct, there can actually be little bits and pieces that may not be. And so, and the reason I'm bringing this up is that last night, yesterday, I put out the codex that B at Quantum Tumblr had put out. And I know too that I'm recording a lot of Jason's work. And Jason did tell me about the forbidden bloodlines of the gods. And he also said that he has seen where there's been other works that sound very similar to his, right? And I've seen this a lot where ownership of information is closely guarded. Now, I didn't get that feeling from Jason, but I'm saying I've seen this across the board. There's apparently a lot of argument out on the internet right now about who is telling the whole story. And let me just say, for my money, nobody has the true story. And again, that is by design. Because if one being had the full story, it would be too easy to manipulate it. This is exactly why your own discernment has to be developed. This is what my feeling is. And again, your individual mileage will absolutely vary. But I would rather err on feeling into the frequency of what is being shared and picking and choosing of what it feels right and what doesn't. Because that's, to me, the only way forward. It's too easy for everybody to jump on this wagon over here. And then this wagon is yanked out from underneath everybody. And then it feels like a whole bunch of hopium and everybody gets all discouraged. And, you know, I've watched this from my position, and I have always said, if one being tells you that they have the truth and they have the answer, you better run. That's just, again, my feeling. And everybody has the right to their own feelings and thoughts about the situation. And I would adore having conscious conversation about just this concept if anyone is open to having that conversation, because I'm open to hearing all concepts. I love doing that because I will discern what I take in and what I don't. That's nobody else's job but mine. I can't tell you what to believe no more than you can tell me what to believe. I'm done playing that game, you see. I've played that game in my life a lot, and I've suffered because of it. So I will decide what I believe and what I don't, and I recommend that for everyone. I will also say that I used to be one of those people that say, well, I'm right and you're wrong. You're all wet if you don't agree with me. I no longer do that either, because I know that I'm not the be all, where all, end all either. Obviously, that is exactly why the story I told just now about my own guidance, I had to have that happen. I really, with all of me, feel now that I set that up specifically so that I would get that message, so that I would see that I too am very fallible. All of us are. Nobody has the full story, and nobody has the right to tell anybody else, I have the right way, the only way. Because that right there, to me, that's not correct. I can be right for me and totally wrong for you, all at the same time. And vice versa can be true. Was that it? Was that all? I feel complete on that subject. I had to come and share that because, like I said, there's apparently a lot. I've been reading over the past few days about how the 144,000 flames, that's the way it's being referred to, have awakened, and they are stepping into their roles. That may or may not be true. It does feel like something has changed. Keeping an open mind, an open hand, putting it in that we shall see box, right? But again, it's very easy. I don't think that everybody knows it either. And like I said, we shall see, right? But anytime anybody feels like, well, this is how it is, I'm still going to listen, but I'm not going to jump on any bandwagons to say this guy over here is right and this guy over here is wrong, because that's not how it works. I really do not think that is how it works. There's too many beings that have very similar takes, which tells me that this is spread out over a wide area, and that is by design. The other reason I feel that, and this is, I'm glad I kept going, because there are translators everywhere. What Jason said about me and my voice, I know is true. I have been called a herald in different ways by different beings, right? Even a 12-year-old autistic child whispered in my ear that I was born a herald. I did not understand it at the time. I do now. So I realize that that is true. I now also understand what that means. I'm not the only one. And that is also by design. Each herald operates on a specific frequency. That frequency can be understood by other beings who are operating on that frequency as well, or who are about to hit that frequency, if that makes any sort of sense to you. There are many, many, many translators, that's what I call them, on the planet. Beings who are called to share their thoughts, their feelings, their concepts, their ideas, which is what I am practically driven to come here and do these recordings. Not to help you, to help me. I've always felt like if somebody else gets something out of it, that's a win-win situation. Now I recognize that that is exactly the reason that it will help others, because of that frequency modulation thing, that herald part. I was also told I carry a fragment of the Archangel Gabriel. Again, it has to do with translating so that others can hear and maybe understand particular, more expansive concepts in regards to consciousness and awakening. I don't know if that makes any sense. If you feel called to share your thoughts, feelings, and ideas, it could very well be that you too are a translator that carries a fragment of the Archangel Gabriel, for lack of better terminology, and and voice of the flame in the way that Jason called me, right? There is something, there's many people have said there is something about the frequency of my voice, right? Even people who are totally unawake. I have a local friend whose daughter, from the time she was very little, she said that my voice causes a tickling in her head. She didn't know what she was talking about. She still has no idea. She doesn't pay attention to my channel. She has no idea that I now know what she was speaking on when even I didn't know before. You see what I mean? So I really feel like as we begin to awaken to the truth of who we are, these things are revealed to us when we are ready, which is, it's taken a long time for me to understand what I'm sharing with you now. I hope this video made sense. Until we meet again, be well, my friends. Mwah.